Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we've got some great racing over the next few days. We've got racing at Wincanton, Aintree, Down Royal. We've got some Breeders' Cup action at Keeneland, the November Handicap at Doncaster. Is there some meetings on Sunday as well? We've got the Holden Gold Cup, which is just about to run or might have just run, at Exeter today. You know, some great racing and really getting into the jump season, the National Hunt season, which kind of leads me on to one of my first points. This November Handicap is just so poorly placed in the calendar. I know it's November, so it has to be in November. I just think we should have moved on from the flat racing by now. Half the good jockeys, no offence to the youngsters riding in this race, a lot of the good jockeys have moved. You know, they're riding in Australia or America or other countries now. The Jockeys' Championship has finished. The Trainers' Championship has finished. I mean, this race is just so almost pointless, I think. And it's a race that I don't like getting involved in too much. I kind of skim over it. The two that I liked in it were Isra and Tritonic. Isra's top rated. Tritonic is RTR7. Both have terrible draws. Probably going to leave that race alone. It's just such a poorly... Come on, we're on to National Hunt racing now. It's November. So with that in mind, let's talk more about National Hunt racing. First race I wanted to talk about was at Wincanton, the 1240. It's a mare's handicap hurdle, and we've got Lady Adair making her comeback. I think she's a graded horse in the making. I'd be very disappointed if she gets beat here. I think, I'd like to see her in the genuinely in the mare's hurdle at the end of the season. I think she's that good. Her form of her races have worked out really well, but she's also been beating horses that have gone on to do well really comfortably. It was disappointing that she didn't turn up in the mare's novice last year, but she's back now, and I think she should take all the beating in this race at Wincanton. She is currently 2-1 favourite, 9-4 at Sport Nation. Yeah, that'll be a bookmaker that folds in a couple of weeks. Anyway, moving on to the 101 at Aintree. I still hate these times of races. 1 o'clock, 5 past 1, 10 past 1, quarter past 1. They're the times that I'd like to see them go back to. Anyway, looked at this race. It's Temps qualifier, which means the top 6 qualify for the race as long as they're high enough rated come finals day. So you're going to get a few here that are probably going to be ridden with that in mind, just to beat 2 horses. So it's kind of looking at who is likely to try and actually win the race. It's a tricky one. There's 2 horses that actually ran in this race last year. Remastered, he was 3rd last year. Not beaten far by Koshari and Deisha Arbor. Runs off a £1 lower mark this year. Deisha Arbor also runs in this and is £4 higher this year. Deisha Arbor went on to finish 2nd in the London National over 3 mile 5, I think it is, at Sandown. I would suggest that this might be more of a prep race this year for that race than it was last year. So I think if I was going to pick one, I would probably go for Remastered here. He's £1 lower than when he was 3rd. I think they're going to be trying. His campaign over fences was okay. It didn't strike me as he needs to go back over fences. Yes, he disappointed here last time at Aintree when he went off 15-2, I think, for a big handicap. But the fact that he went off 15-2 for that big handicap, and this is an easier race, I think he can go very, very close here. He's not a bad price. He, almost getting 15-2 about him for this race when he was 15-2 for the big handicap at the end of the season last year. So I think he could be the one that that tries to win the race. Moving on to the Rising Stars, Fabulous surely takes all the beating here. This is his trip, 2.5 mile. It's at Wincanton where Paul does really well. He's going to win, and he's going to be frustrating, I think, this season, because I don't think he's actually quite grade 1 class, even over the 2.5 mile trip. But he's going to win this. He's going to go up another few pounds. He's already rated, let's just have a quick look on here. He's already rated 153. He's going to go up to 155. He's then going to be running in graded races all season, finishing 2nd, 3rd and 4th in graded races. Whereas I'd like to see him I'd like to see them try and take a handicap. Even with his lack of experience over fences, end up in a handicap. That 2.5 handicap, the plate at the festival, that's where I hope he ends up, rather than a graded race. But I think he wins tomorrow. The rest of these, they're really going to have to step up to beat McFadden here. I'm surprised he's 5-4. I thought he would have been odds on, to be honest. Moving on to the Badger Beers, or formerly the Badger Ales. You can see I've highlighted 5 here, and I just wanted to talk about the 5 rather than actually say that there's 2 of these that I prefer out of the 5. We'll start with the ones I don't prefer. El Presente's won this twice. No, he hasn't. He's won it once. He won it here off 142. He actually runs again off 142. He's also finished 4th in a race at Sandown, which Captain Noor, Potterman and Denrillo all ran in. He was 4th of 147. He was then 5th of 148. He runs for 142. My concern with El Presente is he's had a run this season and it was disappointing. If he'd had a run and gone reasonably well, then I might have been interested in him for this race. But I think the fact that he pulled up would be a real concern for me, and I just wonder whether he is now regressing. The next one that I'm not that interested in is Rocco. Despite having won this last year of 134 with a £3 claimer, Jordan Naylor, who takes the ride again, runs off a £6 lower mark, but he won it at 40-1. It was a bit of a shock. He won it off 40-1. He won it at 40-1. He then pulled up the next twice and finished 5th. I think it was a fluke. I think his win was a fluke, and I don't think he can win it again as a fluke. So that's why I'm ruling Rocco out. I also want to take out Potterman. He won at Sandown the race that Enrillo was disqualified. He was awarded the race. He was also 2nd here last year of 148, and he runs of 149. So he would definitely have a chance on that form. The problem for me is he's got too many P's in his name, or in his form. Doesn't always complete. I just don't really think I can trust him. Whereas the 2 left, I think I've got more of an angle on as to why they can go close. First one is Captain Noor. As you know, I'm a big fan of Captain Noor. He won the Coral Handicap Chase at Kempton last year, beating Kitty's Light. Now, I think Kitty's Light this season, especially with the retirement of Win My Wings, might become the horse that they try and target the big nationals with, particularly the Scottish National and that race at Kempton. Finished 2nd last year, Kitty's Light, to stablemates. So I think they might go, it's your turn to win this year. So with that in mind, I don't think Captain Noor will be the number 1 at Kempton. So they might as well try and find a race to win. 41 grand for this race is good prize money. So I think this is where they might really be going for it. Jack Tudor's booked a ride, who I tend to think rides Christian's handicap horses that go well. He was 4th last year off 135 with a £3 claimer. He runs this time off 130. I thought his effort last time at Sandown, 2 runs ago, at Sandown, was a good effort because he doesn't quite stay that trip. And Christian's horses all seem to need the run. Last time there was quite a few disappointments with Christian's horses. And Captain Noor didn't run badly at Chepstow, and hopefully that's put him spot on for this race. The horse who does have a lot of letters in his name that I do want to give a chance to, a lot of letters in his form, that I do want to give a chance to, is Enrillo. And that's because he's had a wind up. Paul Nicholls loves this race. I think he's entered Frodon to keep the weight down for Enrillo. Obviously, he won the race at Sandown a few years ago, the Bet365 Gold Cup, and was disqualified. That was off a mark of 143. He's back down to that 143 mark. He's had the wind up, and on that form, he would go very, very close here. And if they've got him back to his best, I think he's actually the number 1 for Paul Nicholls. So I think Enrillo and Captain Noor, for different reasons, are the 2 that I like in the Badger Beers. I almost said Ales again. It used to be called that. The Badger Beers, and they are currently 9-2 and 7-1. And they are the 2 for me in that race. Moving on to Aintree for the Grand Sefton, the first race over the national fences, and again you can see I've highlighted quite a few here. Broken Halo could be anything. His last win was very impressive, but he now steps into a much better race, much deeper race. Spirit of the Games, he ran well in the Sefton. Was it the Sefton? No, it wasn't. It was the Topham. Back in April, he ran a good race. He was 5th. He took some time to get into it and then ran on quite strongly. Problem for me for Spirit of the Games is he's been down to this sort of mark, 135, I think it is, for a little while. He's been hovering around there. Has actually gone up a little bit after his second, and he still can't win. So, from a win perspective, I think he would be a doubt for me whether he actually can get his head in front. I think he'll run another good race, finish 3rd or 4th sort of thing, and not actually win the race. Our Dancer, he's very, very classy, and this is an easier race. It's just those national fences that would concern me. He does tend to make a mistake over the regulation fences, so these national fences would definitely concern me. Jacquemart is another one I really like. I just think this might be a bit too classy for him. Some of these horses in here are very good handicappers, and I think Jacquemart needs to find just a slightly easier race. As soon as he drops into a class 3, Jacquemart can definitely win a race. So that would leave me with the 2 I like. 2 for Gold, who pulled up in the Grand National, but led for a long way. Is a grade 2 winner at Warwick. He's a very good horse. He just didn't stay the Grand National trip. This trip, from the front, I think it'll be very hard to pass. So he's definitely one that I'm interested in here. The other one that I'm interested in is 2 for Gold. 2 for Gold is Senior Citizen, who is £1 higher than when finished 2nd in this race last year to Mac Totty. Obviously, Mac Totty has proven himself as a bit of a national specialist, having won the Topham last time. So on his return to Aintree, he then won the Topham. And I thought actually last year Senior Citizen was given a perfect ride. I thought it was. I think I made a video and actually mentioned that Senior Citizen, I thought was one of those rides that could have been Ride of the Month if he'd won it, but because he didn't win it, it wasn't even. He didn't even get a mention in Ride of the Month suggestions, which I thought was a little bit unfair. But that's what happens. People don't seem to praise rides for 2nd and 3rd and 4th. It's always just the winner. But anyway, I think Senior Citizen, he jumped perfectly. I thought he was ridden perfectly last time, and I think he can go very close off just a £1 higher mark, having been beaten and well clear of 3rd. He was only beaten by essentially a Grand National fence specialist. They are currently, let's have a look, 13-2, and you can get 8 at Bet UK, so 7s at a lot of bookmakers. Moving on to Down Royal for the Ladbrokes Champion Chase, Grade 1. Frodon doesn't run here. Frodon goes to the Badger Bears. Surely Galvin wins this. I was a massive fan of Envoy early on in his career. He's been very inconsistent since that fall at Cheltenham a few years ago. Yeah, surely Galvin is just too good for these. And I was surprised that you could actually get 11-10. I thought he would have been odds on, similar to McFabulous. Moving on to the 2.5 mile hurdle race. I think Brewing Up a Storm is the one to beat here. Dasher Drasher is a chaser. Langadan, we don't know how good he is. Obviously, he was carefully campaigned last year with the aim of winning at Cheltenham, and then it all went wrong when he was brought down early on. He then did go and win at Aintree, I think it was, and he won him impressively. Brewing Up a Storm won this race last year, is the graded horse in the race. Voix de Rev, I don't know what they're doing. He doesn't stay 2.5 mile. There was a 2 mile handicap chase he could have run in, but they've gone for this race, and I think he'll finish 4 for 4. I don't know whether they get much prize money for that or why they're doing that personally. But Brewing Up a Storm again, I thought he could have been a little bit shorter. I thought he might have been even money. Langadan is the unexposed, and the other 2 I don't think will win the race. Moving on to the Elite Hurdle, Nappers Hill versus So Royale. I think Milkwood is a good handicapper, but not good enough for this. And Night Salute, I always worry with the 4-year-olds coming into this level of class straight so early on in their 4-5-year-old campaign. I think Napper's Hill can certainly push So Royale here. Obviously, he's come out top rated and is certainly improving. So Royale won't be improving. If there's any slight hint of regression, Napper's Hill can beat him here and go on to be the graded horse, and So Royale could start to drop out. You can get 9-4 about Napper's Hill, and I didn't think that was a bad price, to be honest. As I've mentioned, the Doncaster November Handicap, yeah, I don't like the race. Another horse here, like Lady Adair, from my horses to follow, and that's Gunsight Ridge. Slightly surprised to see Gunsight Ridge is bottom rated. He went a favourite for the Red Rum at Aintree, or was that at Ayr? No, it was at Aintree, the Red Rum, of course it was. At Aintree last time out and pulled up. This is a much easier race. I think things just went wrong at the end of last season. I think he's well handicapped. I like this horse, and I think he can certainly win this race before going on to bigger and better things next time. I think they've opened him up at 3-1 at William Hill. Let's just refresh this page if you've got any more. 3-1. Bet365 are going 5-2 joints with Only Money, the unexposed top rated. But I like Gunsight Ridge. I think he's got a bit of class about him. 2 races to talk about now, final 2, and they are the 2 bumpers. Interesting to see at Kelso and at Wincanton, we've got newcomers that have come up top rated. One trained by Fergal O'Brien, who's very good at this course, 7 from 19 at Kelso, and the Paul Nicholls trained Kick Up a Storm at Wincanton. I think they're both very interesting, both worth watching with the future in mind. Don't know if we've got prices for any of them yet. Nothing in Kelso race. We do have the Wincanton Kick Up a Storm has been opened at 5-2 favourite. These are just ones that I'm going to watch for the future, but I would be very keen to see both of these two go very well and run big races. So it's quite a long video, lots of horses to talk about. I think if I could just very quickly recap, Lady Adair, I really like her. I think she's better than handicaps. Remastered, I think, is a good bet in the Potemps qualifier. I think this one will be trying. There's a few here that will have other races in mind in the future. McFabulous, I think, takes all the beating. I hope to see it in a handicap down the end of towards the end of the season. Enrillo and Captain Orr would be my 2 in the Badger Beers. 2 for Golden Senior Citizen would be my 2 in the Grand Sefton. Galwin, I think, takes all the beating. Brewing Up a Storm, I think, beats Langadan. Napper's Hill, I think, can upset up So Royale. I didn't want the November Handicap. Gunsight Ridge, like Lady Adair, is one that I think is better than this class of race. And then the 2 in the bumpers that I'm going to be keeping an eye out for. So there's my thoughts. Thanks for listening. Thanks for all your recent messages, DMs. Glad to hear that people were excited to have these videos back. Drop a like on this video if you do like it. That'll certainly give me an idea of how much I need to keep going with these and how many more videos you want to see. And don't forget to subscribe.